Hi, fellow classmates, instructors, and friends. This is Ginny, your humble TCM student who knows absolutely nothing about this field, but wanted to start this audio journal to record everything TCM. If you would like to join my study group as well, please come learn with me. And let's get healthier by healing our bodies from the inside out holistically together. Hi, Kuko fam. Thank you so much for tuning back with me for another study session. Today, we have our very first male practitioner talking with us, and he's from Singapore. His name is Edmund, and today's topic is slightly controversial in a way, I feel, because we're going to be talking about veganism and being vegetarians. Without further ado, please welcome Edmund. Hi, Edmund.
Hi, Ginny. Thank you so much for having me here.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
We're like 12 hours away.
Yeah, I know, 12 hours away, but we're making it happen.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, in terms of your background, why did you want to become a practitioner yourself? What sparked that inspiration of, hey, you know what? I kind of want to dive deep into this.
Okay, so initially when I was in high school, I loved biology, and I thought that eventually I'll become a researcher or lecturer in my local U that combines both biomedical science with traditional Chinese medicine. And I thought that, hey, I just give it a try, just try my best to get into it, and eventually I got it. Then I realized that I love TCM as much as biology, and in fact, I love it more than biomedical science because I realized that a lot of things bioscience can't explain it, TCM can, and TCM vice versa, of course. So that was in 2009, and eventually in 2014, I graduated with both double degrees, and then I went to China for 2 years, Beijing. So 2 years in China, and fully immersed with the TCM culture, and I learned a lot there, living there as a local as well. So over there, right, the doctors can prescribe both TCM and Western medicine.
Wow.
Let's say, for example, if you have PCOS, in the same consultation, I can give you TCM herbs to regulate your menses. Now, let's say that there are patients who are, still not so 100% convinced that TCM alone can help with PCOS. So then the doctors can give you metformin, and if you really need, I can give you the medicine to induce your menses.
Wow, that's a first.
That's a single consultation. Then I think, of course, theoretically it works well, but because as human beings, eventually, once you have the shortcut method, that means I need to say that if you need to take Chinese medicine to regulate your menses, it takes a while. It takes probably 1 to 3 months. Eventually, you see some results. Compared to if you take letrozole or clomid, and then your menses comes every cycle, 28 days, 28 days, 28 days. So, it depends on how strong are you within your TCM field. So only the older doctors, they stick to TCM. The younger generations, they start to introduce with both Western medicine and Chinese medicine. And then it really depends on you as a student, which do you want to follow. And because when we are back in Singapore, there's no way we can do both Western medicine and Chinese medicine in the same consultation. So we still have to stick to our roots and to give Chinese medicine only, and not just to depend on the Western medicine to just induce menses. As we know, this is just inducing of menses. It's not regulating. It's just to let your menses comes every 30 days, but it doesn't do anything to your menstrual cycle. It's okay if you are not trying for a baby in the start. It's okay if you are having really, really bad menstrual cramps that you have no other means like TCM to help you with. But eventually you realize that you need to get to the root cause in order to have your body get treated. Okay, that's a little bit digressing anyway. So after 2 years in China, so I came back to Singapore. So I practiced in my previous workplace for 5 years before I came into my current private practice, EMW. And that's where I see almost, I think, everyday fertility patients. So I see gynae and fertility, as well as male fertility as well.
Okay, so first of all, when you said you could practice both at the same time and prescribe both Western and Chinese medicine, that's the first. I have never heard of that. Because I feel like I've heard of a lot of, just like some practitioners say like, or maybe like the more old school ones would be like, even before when you go for a consultation, they'll ask you, are you taking any Western medicine right now? And then if you are, they might turn you away. Yeah, because they feel like, okay, so you're already taking Western medicine. My Eastern medicine is not going to work as well on you because you can't take both at the same time. Essentially, that's what they're trying to say. And so that's why it's very interesting to hear that you're saying that in China, they're kind of progressing and trying to use both at the same time.
Yes, because the TCM doctors, they also study Western medicine. So they are qualified to prescribe both Western medicine and TCM. So I think that there's also they also have a protocol, like they'll know when to use TCM, when to use Western medicine.
Right.
For you. True.
That's very cool. It's cool that you have both knowledge. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
So in your studies, right? Because I know today we're going to talk about like veganism and being a vegetarian, which I think before I chat with you, you're a vegetarian yourself, right? Yeah. So how many years have you been a vegetarian?
I think close to 18 or 19 or 20 years, around there. So since I was 16, now I'm 35. Yeah, around 19 years old. I think 19 years of vegetarian.
Wow. Good for you.
Thank you. But I think because I have a lot of friends that they were vegetarian since birth. So I'm nothing compared to them actually. So their parents are vegetarian, then their whole family are vegetarian. So I think it's in Singapore, or rather say that in Asian countries, I think vegetarianism is more widespread. You have more vegetarian stores, food stalls around, restaurants. Yeah.
Is it because of religious reasons, or is it because like by choice you wanted to do that?
For myself, initially it was religion, but then eventually it has to be by choice, because religion can only sort of like I wouldn't say force you, but to by rule that you have to become vegetarian. You can only get it to a certain point. After that, you have to be by choice that you have to be vegetarian, because there'll be a lot of scenarios, a lot of situations, your friends, your peers. There'll be times where you have to decide that yes, you have to stick to you have to stick to your own beliefs lah. There's a lot of reasons that can make you to become vegetarian. Like for example, it can be due to environment, it can be due to animal cruelty, religion. I think that for me, the only reason is I don't feel that I need to kill just to satisfy my taste bud.
Right.
We keep pets, they have feelings as well. So I think that if I can survive without that, I think you can just do it. And I realized that I'm a science person, so I went to do a lot of research, and I realized that it's totally fine to survive as a vegetarian, as long as you know where to get your own phytominerals.
Right. And I think that's like the key thing I want to talk to you about today. Because honestly speaking, I actually tried to go vegetarian as well for a while. And I just feel like many people who try, we just start to feel extremely fatigued all the time, because I just feel like I'm not doing something right. I'm not having a balanced diet as much as I should, and just not understanding what to have and what not to have. But we're going to get to those questions.
Sure.
So going back to when you're studying TCM, right? Some of the herbs, as I know, are actually insects. And sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, if you're making soup, you should always have the meat, have the protein, like blanch the pork and stuff, and then afterwards make your Chinese soup, so to speak. So with so many things revolving around having meat as like the main source of protein, and a lot of people emphasizing on how, and some practitioners actually that I've also talked to have also emphasized on the fact that, hey, you know what, like the nutrients of meat is hard to replace with something else. Like the energetics of it is just hard to replace. So with that, like, have you come across a lot of those like challenges for you when you were like going through your journey of studying and everything?
Because I was firm on being a vegetarian, even while studying. So whenever I met some such questions, I will always think that is there a substitute? So I'll try to find out. So yes, there were some ingredients that were animal-based in terms of TCM tonics. I wouldn't say a lot, but there are probably a few notable ones. Things like 鹿茸, deer's antelope, the 阿胶, the skin of a mule, M-U-L-E. So these are the things that, they can tonify your yang energy, they can boost your blood. Then lamb, L-A-M-P, lamb meat, they are used in soups that can, boost your blood, boost your yang energy. Yeah, so these are the things that, of course, I have to avoid. But then you have to look into the energetic. For example, if you're looking to boost blood, right, you take the skin of a mule or lamb, you can just look into vegetarian sources, for example, 当归川芎熟地. I don't know the English version of all this. So there are substitutes for the same kind of energetics. Now, of course, if you want to compare apple for apple, it's difficult. But then if you can substitute with a vegetarian source, of course, the energetics won't be 100% of the same one, but then you can top it up with a continuous intake as well as higher amount of intake over time. Then to me, food intake or rather herbs intake is only a part of your yang shen. You still need movement. Things like qigong, things like tai chi. Yeah, all these things are more important, I would say, as compared to just food alone. So in terms of the overall thing, for example, let's go into the question. If we go into vegetarianism, we start to feel fatigue, that stuff, right? So the first thing that comes to me will be a vitamin B complex that is lacking. Because vitamin B, in terms of meat, right? Meat and, let's say, for example, soy, tofu, So meat is there for protein, for iron, for B6 and B12. So these are the things that we need to replace as vegetarian. Okay. So the protein-wise, you have to look into complete source of protein. I'm a lacto-ovo vegetarian, so I can take eggs and milk.
Right.
Yes. So if you are a vegan, then after you need to be a lot more into legumes and grains.
Right.
And that's where you have a more complete source of protein. And vitamin B6 and B12, then that's where that you need to look into things like more probiotic stuff, things like plant-based kefir, kombucha, kimchi, and that's where that you have your B12. Yes, if you have to stick to a certain belief, like vegan, then after that we have to forego some of the luxury, and then we have to just take more of all this lesser known stuff as compared to the general public.
Yeah.
So it's still possible. It's just that you have to be a little bit more picky on your side, and then you just have to be blessed that you have friends around you that understands and appreciate you in your way. That's very important.
Yeah, for sure. It's great where you are. You have accessibility to so many different vegan restaurants. I feel like where I am right now here, we do have it, but it's not as popular still. And yeah, and if is, I feel like it's kind of pricey or it doesn't taste as great. So I feel like you really have to if you want to become one, you really have to hone in on your cooking skills. So I was wondering, you said that if you want to become vegan or vegetarian, you would definitely have to take B12 and B6 as vitamins. Are there any other supplements that you suggest? And are there any go-to herbs that you would suggest that person taking, just so they're not set up for failure, so to speak?
To me, right, because I study herbs based on therapeutic properties, not on the biochemical part of it. For example, I study things like tang kui angelica. It's a form of moving blood herbs.
Right.
Tonifying and moving blood. It's not in terms of it has things like estrogenic properties.
Right.
We use angelica to treat things like even endometriosis, even things like fibroids. But of course in a formula. But then if it's estrogenic, then after that, people will think that we cannot take angelica when we're treating endometriosis. So I think it's a little bit different in the way that we look into herbs. I would say that if you are a vegan, Then after that, you are looking for B6 or B12 sources. The best way is still through natural foods. So for example, right, for B6, the best way will be lentils, banana, and seeds, sunflower seeds and pistachio. So lentils, right, I would say that, you know dal, D-A-H-L? D-A-H-L.
No, what is
Dal.
that?
So it's an Indian food. So lentils with turmeric. So they just put in hot water, then after that it just boils, then after that it turns into like a gluey stuff. You can go and Google it. So this is something that you can do it very simple at home, and you can take it as your staple food. So you can put it with a bread, and after that you can just take it, and that's fine. That's very good. Then for B12, there are a lot of things like eggs. Then after that, of course, eggs, there will be B12. If you can't, even soy milk or nutritional yeast, they have B12 as well. And when you have those kind of fortified cereals, even soy milk, they also contain some form of B12 as well. And B12 is not something that you need a lot, because it's something that is being stored in our body as well. Unless you have anemia, then that's where that you need to be concerned with what are you lacking in actual fact. You can be lacking in B12, you can be lacking in folate, you can be lacking in iron, and that's where you need to know what to boost up on in your diet.
Right. So since it's all vegetarian and legumes and stuff, do you actually have to increase the amount of meals that you intake a day? Or is it like still three times a day is fine?
I would say that, of course, if you can do your 3 meals per day and you feel fine, I think that is good. If not, it's okay to have healthy snacks in between. It's totally fine.
Like the nuts?
Yes, correct. Nuts. Raisins, nuts, your walnuts, your cashews. Then during 10 a.m. or 4 p.m., you can take fruits as well. So it also depends on your energy output. If you have a very high energy output, then of course you need more stuff during the day. And I would think that the carbs, if you are starting off, I'll say that you'll be better off taking things like brown rice, quinoa, buckwheat. So I think that's also good if you feel that you're hungry all the time.
So there's a random question for me, just putting on that TCM question hat on. So in regards to having so much veggies are kind of seen as not very yin, but they're more yin than and protein is like yang, right? But is that the same if it's not meat? If you're having legumes and all of that, is that still yang to balance the yin that you're having? Because I think a lot of beginners also run into an issue of running too cold all the time because the protein is just not giving them enough yang, I guess.
Okay, if you compare vegetables and meat, then of course relatively the yin will be the vegetables, the meat will be the yang part. Now, within meat itself, there are also cooling meat and more heaty meat.
Right.
So for example, duck meat, there are more heaty stuff. Lamb,
yes,
mutton, they are the yang one. So chicken, pork relatively will be the yin one. So regarding your question, the concern is more of the imbalance of the yin and yang. If you take more vegetables, then you are a lot more yin. Because on the vegetable side, you also have yang vegetables. Or rather, I would say that plant-based yang. Things like your ginger, your turmeric, your cloves, cinnamon. So all these things, they are the part of the things that tonify you. So for example, if you take vegetables, like for example, you cook a plate of cai sim.
Yeah.
You can cook together with ginger. This entire plate is not cooling anymore. It's not as cooling anymore. Then after, of course, you can slice it up, the ginger, and then you consume together. Then your body won't be too yin already. So it's a matter of how you cook it up. And then is it hot when you're consuming it or it's cold? So I think it depends on a lot of different factors as well. And then if you take legumes, you take tofu, so it depends on how you cook it. For example, tofu, if you steam it, and the tofu, if you sort of saute it. If you saute, of course, it's slightly more heaty in a way.
Right.
It's more yang. Yeah, so I think it balances up somehow. So
okay.
so it's okay.
Oh, okay. So if you were to start on your vegan transition, the healthiest way to do so is everything you prepare should have a balance, as you said. Like if you're making veggies, cook the veggies. Would you suggest having raw veggies or like always cook your veggies?
I would always suggest cook veggies.
Cook
But
veggies.
I cook veggies, yes. But I do understand salads is part of the Western diet.
Yeah.
So if you have to take salads, fine, it's okay. Just that make sure that you do have the warm veggies around, which is your ginger.
Right.
So if you are okay to take sliced ginger raw, then after you can toss it within your salads and take it. That's the best, if you can.
Or maybe have ginger salad dressing.
Also can. Ginger salad dressing also can. Or you take your salads with a hot ginger tea.
Yes.
Also can.
Okay.
Then after that, you can drizzle your salad with things like cinnamon powder, turmeric powder. So I think it's still fine. But then, of course, it shouldn't be a daily thing.
Oh, it shouldn't.
For my recommendation, of course. But of course, if it's part of your diet, you can do it. But I wouldn't suggest that daily. You can do it with 3 meals or 4 meals per week.
To have ginger with it or just have raw veggie?
Raw. Raw
Okay.
veggie.
Yeah.
Raw veggie. The most part of it should be cooked veggies.
Yes, cooked veggies.
Yes.
So the rule of thumb is whenever you're having a meal, always look at your dish to see, okay, I have the yin, which is the veggie, but what is the yang in this plate?
Yes, correct. Most of the veggies are cooling. It'll be good to just include some the warm part.
Right. And then for snacks, it will just be raisins and nuts. And then on the side for vitamins, always take vitamin B6 and B12 to start.
Correct. So these are the things that be mindful of. So of course, protein as well, tofu, tempeh. If you can have lentils, then you can have your protein as well.
Yeah.
Lentils is one of the best food for vegan.
Okay.
But of course, if you have things like IBS, flatulence, instead of just avoiding legumes and grains, look to treat our gut as well.
So would you treat it with kombucha?
Kombucha, no. If you can make your own kefir, that's the best. If not, then after you just find a very good source of kefir. Kombucha, there's a lot of gas as well, so I think that kefir might be a better choice.
Got it.
Kefir, plant-based coconut milk, that's the best for vegan. We have them in our local supermarket. I'm not sure if you have it there.
I think we have it too. I think we have it around here, but you have to look for it. It's in like health foods. Yeah. That sounds delicious. I never tried a vegan kefir. Especially if it's coconut. Yum.
Yes, coconut.
Okay, so my last question for you is, what are the do's and don'ts? Like, do you have any of the must-do's and the must-don'ts for the beginners out there?
For starting out for vegetarian?
Yeah.
First thing you have to really keep in mind is you do one step at a time. Because every individual has their own pace of life. Don't copy, don't plug certain Instagram page.
Right.
Just off it. Then after that, I must follow, I must emulate this person, Because social media is only there something external. Don't let it overtake our life. So we can just go by our own pace. If there's something that you really cannot give it up right now, it's okay. Try to take that thing off your list one at a time. You can just give it yourself a deadline. For example, okay, by this week, I should be able to cut off, for example, eggs.
Right.
The next week, I should be able to cut off chicken.
Right.
But at the same time, I also think that you should start to observe your own symptoms. Just make sure that you are not lacking in certain vital ingredients that you don't know. I would say that it's better to let your best friend or your family members know that you are changing your diet. Hopefully they are supportive.
Right.
I mean, you have to find someone that's supportive.
Yeah, for sure.
Then of course you have to pay attention to those kind of vegan junk food. It can be vegan, but then they are still junk food. So you shouldn't replace your food with vegan junk food. They are plant-based, soy-free, but then when you look into their sugar intake, their sugar content. So avoid things like highly processed oils, like things like palm oil, canola, sunflower oil. Because when changed into vegan diet or vegetarian, there'll be a lot of mock stuff. Mock meat.
What is that?
They look and taste and smells like
yes,
meat, but then they are not meat.
Yes.
Okay, my recommendation is, if you really have craving for this particular meat, then it's okay to take it as a cheat day to indulge on it, but then eventually you will have to give up on this. They are just there to bridge you over, but they are not supposed to be consumed on a daily basis or a long-term basis. Initially, I was also very because I love chicken rice. So in the past, I love chicken rice. So when I turn into vegetarian, I crave for vegetarian chicken rice. So they use soy to make the chicken. But eventually, I give up on it because I don't think that tastes nice anymore. And then I move on from it. So you need that phase. So it's okay to go through that phase. Allow yourself to go through.
Right.
So if you need something familiar taste or something, it's okay. But slowly, you have to turn off what people have to say about you. Probably they'll say that, hey, I thought you wanted to become vegetarian. But how come are you sticking back to, mock chicken rice?
Right.
Yes. So this is something that probably people won't understand unless they go through the same phase as you.
Yeah.
So, and then as a vegan or vegetarian, it's totally okay, to take DHA as well as B12 supplements. Oh yeah, there's also one of the vital nutrients I need to mention is DHA. So if we are vegetarian, we take eggs, we take milk, it's okay. We still have that DHA.
Right.
But for vegan, it really depends on your oil. So if you do take coconut oil, you do take flaxseed oil, they contain omega-6, and in your body, they can convert back to omega-3. So it's still okay, but then you have to take sufficient amount. Yes. Olive oil is also okay. So as long as you don't cook it very long, then it will have sufficient omega-6 to convert to omega-3 in your body.
Yes, I think that's very important. Yeah, omega-3.
Correct, omega-3. So what I've learned, over the years, because there are a lot of patients who wanted to turn to vegetarian, but they need some help. So I always tell them that the key to making sustainable, long-lasting diet habit changes starts with understanding your psychological relationship with food.
Wow.
Everyone has a different relationship with food.
Yeah, of course.
If without food, you will sort of die, then it's either you must learn how to cook your own food so that you start to love your food. If not, then you will always circle within the, you think, oh my God, vegan food is so expensive and it doesn't taste well.
I
know. So this is your relationship. There's no right and wrong. Everyone has their own relationship. So it depends on how you change your mindset on food. And that's the most important part about a vegan or vegetarian.
Yeah, no, that's true. So the moral of that is be kind to yourself. Sometimes you take 3 steps forward and you take 1 step back, but you have to let yourself know that it's okay. You're still progressing. Just know that you're committing to it, and slowly but surely you'll get there.
Yes, correct. Within your own community, you should be able to find plant-based nutritionist or plant-based TCM practitioner.
Yeah.
So hopefully that if you are turning your diet towards vegan or vegetarian, hopefully you can hook onto your plant-based community for help. And that's very important, supportive and community.
It's cool. Well, thank you so much for explaining the health benefits of, or should I say, how you can be healthy on your journey to becoming vegan or vegetarian, because there are so many benefits on being one. Like the biggest one is obviously the environment. You're saving a lot of greenhouse gases, energy, water, animals, all of that. So if you have always wanted to try and didn't know how and scared that your diet would be completely out the door, this was such a great chat with you. So I thank you so much, Edmund, for coming on.
Thank you so much as well. It's okay. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. And I'll catch all of you guys on the next study session. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
If you like this episode, please give it a like. If you would like to hear future episodes, please subscribe. Or if you have any questions about health, please send me an email at kuko.health@gmail.com, which is kuko.health. If you just want to say hi or drop me a DM on Instagram,
Hi, fellow classmates, instructors, and friends. This is Ginny, your humble TCM student who knows absolutely nothing about this field, but wanted to start this audio journal to record everything TCM. If you would like to join my study group as well,